Hello, today it's time for me to show you my average defense replays as always, and my first experimentation with return plus trap. Maybe you have heard about it. It causes the target to be repositioned forward, and this is accomplished thanks to Winter Benedetta's weapon, inflicting 1 damage to nearby allies. I have Ishtar with ground orders, which means Sarah turn 1 will jump here and cause Frazzy to move to space, hopefully getting a kill on someone here. Having the second dancer is convenient because thanks to the AI being triggered, Benedetta will move here and get danced and kill someone here. This setup is not ideal because it lacks some elements. I will talk about this during this video. But first, if you use return plus trap, you have to remember something very important about AI rule. If you bait Frazier by letting unit standing here, Frazier will move first before Sarah starts to act. So the return trap will fail. If that happens, it doesn't matter if it's a 2 movement range or 3 movement range, you have to consider this possibility. This is why I have these 2 bolt traps here, just to make sure that they don't try to place a unit here. I also tried the first days to move a fortress here or here or here, because I think this setup is maybe the best I can come up with. I also have Everpot here as a bait because I want to encourage the players, the average players, try getting the pot turn 1. If they do that, this means turn 1 they will let probably a weak unit here for Frazier to kill. So if you're using really return plus trap, you have to be careful about your targets, the target of a return plus. It has to be, if possible, a unit which is very difficult to kill. So this is my replace. It works well. There's one real failure here. Someone who probably understands exactly what was happening. And this failure is not what I consider a failure. It was more like a mistake on my part. I will explain why later. So having Frazier as a target of return plus has a problem that if you use a strong red, you can easily one-shot her. The worst case scenario is Winter Altina, because she will probably kill both Sarah, despite her having Dazzling Staff, and Frazier at the same time. If you use instead very bulky range units with something like ARD, Death Res, Lul Attack, Death Solo, Defense Buff, and a weapon that reduces the enemy's attack, this is probably the perfect target for Return Plus, because it will trigger a chain of Wings of Mercy. I have Leaf here waiting to get his Wings of Mercy because he is now a bonus unit, and I really like Leaf a lot and I want to play with him, and it's the perfect time for me to use Leaf, it's been a while. So I have to find a good way to use him with Wings of Mercy. This is why, even though I used Frazier here, she's not the perfect candidate for Leaf to get his Wings of Mercy anchor. Someone like Halloween Wraith with Spendthrift Bow could be the perfect target. So I took a big risk here by removing Halloween Wraith because now I only have squishy units. For the exception of Leaf, everyone has very low bulk, and that's not very good. For any typical AR defense, you need at least one or maybe two very bulky units to survive crazy things like Winter Altina, Unity Fallen Ike, Duolin, Brave Actor, Brave Edelgard, and whatnot. And here I made a mistake. I completely forgot that you can just destroy this throne and move this unit one space upward so that you bait Frazier effectively without touching the others. So here the return trap didn't happen. And Frazier gets one shot. Study Impact is good on Leaf, the one which I have, but sometimes I am wondering if it's not better to have Attack Def Unity. I think maybe it could be better for him to have Attack Def Unity. It might depend, but Attack Def Unity has the advantage it will give Leaf a dual phase ability with respect to attack and death boost in defense. And the good thing about Attack Def Unity, I made a video about this, is that you can safely use defense buff without worrying about panic. So this is the thing that killed me. So ask yourself a question: why blocking the dance on Peony and not Ishtar or Sarah? And why placing Altina over here? Exactly, perfectly, to bait Frazier. This tells me these players really know what happened. So the return plus activated, and Sarah get danced, and now that means Sarah can only target Altina and die. Here Frazier has 3 targets, but they are both red and they have very high resistance. I still think that placing Plumeria here, I wouldn't do that if I really wanted to kill Frazier. But still, This is what happened. Now, of course, without Bernadetta, without Frazier, everything falls apart. I think you should expect more people to use Bridal Film in the future. At least a little bit more. Because right now, we got the data mine that we will have next time all of forms with Bridal Film. And I expect some players will buy the Formaso and get Bridal Film and use her in Astra season. You should also expect that to happen. And the good thing about Sarah and her Kia staff and return is that it can work with odd recovery. The only problem is that it's very restrictive. You have to use 2 healers and Bernadetta, which means 3 units, and probably you want 2 dancers. So unless you want to use 2, I forgot the name of this dancer. No, Triangle, no. Mirabilis. Right, Mirabilis. You can use eventually 2 Mirabilis. It might work. Even if Mirabilis is not a bonus mythic. As I said earlier in some of my videos, just because a certain mythic is not a bonus unit doesn't mean you shouldn't use it. I mean, if it works with 2 Mirabilis without her being a bonus unit, well, you can still do it, and I can still recommend it. Because if it makes a system work pretty well, there's nothing to change about it. Just because a mythic is a bonus doesn't mean you have to use it. If it doesn't work, or if it weakens or kills your own system, don't do it. So this is my mistake. I forgot you can just destroy this golden throne and place right here, a unit here. I forgot in fact that the ground orders not affect only Sarah but also Frazier, which means Frazier now can get to this spot and attack Edelgard. I didn't realize it. Because this is what happened, and this is bad. This is, if I had a structure here, Frazier will not move. What happened is that Bernadetta will move first and commit a suicide attack against Edelgard. After that, Return Plus will trigger and cause Frazier to move here and kill Regine. And then Peony will move. So this is how it went, pretty badly. So I guess you can understand what follows after. And here we have a guest. Because I strongly suspect this Azulito is the YouTuber Azulito who makes some free-to-play guides for PvE contents and other stuff like that. I really enjoy his videos and I'm sorry about this. I'm really sorry that he lost, but, well, it happened. I think he didn't understand what happening with return plus, because having 3 units here in range is just, I think, too much, considering I have 2 dancers. I mean, I suspect. So yeah, I talked about earlier, odd recovery is something you might consider for your AR defense, even though it's restrictive because you have to use 2 healers. Remember, we will soon get AR defense mythics providing you with 7 slots. You need to get at least one of these mythics. It doesn't matter which one it is. You need at least one of them, because it will give you more freedom and more flexibility with respect to your defense composition. So a 2 healers return trap is something that could be very valuable in the future, especially against isolation. If you don't want to use that, I think there is still a possibility is to fodder Sarah for your best offensive cav healer. Because the bad thing about Sarah being a 2 range unit is that she doesn't have a very good coverage. Imagine what happened if you have a ranged cavalry moving here and getting danced. It will cover for Frazier or for any target of the return plus. Because the good thing about healers is that they have a dazzling staff. So if you have a very strong range cav, very bulky one, and eventually the AI will choose to move the healers and make the healer attack instead of the range cav, which could be Halloween Rolf. But this kind of defense probably needs, as any defense in fact, a high investment, because otherwise it will not work. As I said before, the problem is that players who understand it will probably destroy this kind of team. It's more predictable than a classical restore trap, I believe, because you know exactly what happened. You know who is the target and where it moves. So you can position your tank in the ideal spot to bait Frazier, and she will commit a suicide attack. So I will make a video theory craft of return plus and show you some possibilities that you can do about it. Because this week I am just using a basic stuff here. I am not furthering Sarah. Maybe I think I will get another copy of her and further her for cavalry healer, because this assist is very good. And probably next time I will have to use Halloween Wrath, because having too many squishy units is not good. But I wanted to use Frazier just to see what happens and how players react to this kind of defense before we get to the Vault of Heaven. So okay, thanks for watching.